Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Gandro, and you can't see my face, but it's definitely my voice, and I am here with tonight's math lesson on dividing numbers in scientific notation. And this is going to be awesome, everyone, because this ties in to exactly what we've been studying when we divide numbers in exponential notation. So that means if we have the same base, we subtract our exponents, but it's going to be really cool. So let's take a look at this. Dividing numbers in scientific notation follows the same steps as multiplying, which is what we did last night, but you must apply the rules for division. So let's take a look at 8 times 10 to the 4th over 2 times 10 squared. So the first thing I want to point out to us is this division sign right here. Okay, so we're going to take a little look off to the side here, and let's talk about our rules for dividing when we have like bases. So rules for dividing. So remember when we talked about exponents, we had the same bases. So we have 10 to the 4th and 10 squared. These are our like bases. Now when we divide, if we take a look at this division symbol, it kind of reminds us that we're subtracting. So we keep our base and we subtract our exponents. Keep the base and we subtract the exponents. So let's take a quick peek at this. Let's say that I have 8y to the 4th power divided by 2y squared. So I'm going to take a look at my coefficients of 8 and 2. So 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Then I'm going to take a look at my y to the 4th and my y squared. So this is y to the 4 minus 2, which is y squared. So I'm going to put it all together and I end up with 4 times y squared. So let's go back to the scientific notation. First, we group both and we divide the factors. So we group our factors, so the 8 and the 2. So I'm going to pull that out over here. And then I'm going to take a look at the base of 10 and the exponents. So I know that 8 divided by 2 is 4, and I know that 4 minus 2 is 2. So this gives me a base of 10 and the exponent is 2. So I'm going to slap my multiplication sign in there, and my answer is 4 times 10 squared. So the next thing we have to ask ourselves, is our answer in scientific notation? Well, let's stop and think about that for a minute. What does it mean for something to be in scientific notation? Well, we know that this front factor has to be a number between 1 and 10. So it can be 1, but it's got to be less than 10. And we're going to erase that part there because it's not less than or equal to, it's less than 10. So 4 is definitely greater than 1 and it's less than 10. And then we're multiplying by a power of 10. We happen to have 10 squared. So is this number in scientific notation? It absolutely is. It's in scientific notation for those reasons. So what I love about this is that we get to incorporate all of the laws of exponents, and it's really cool. So you can see the application in a different form here. So let's take a look at the next one. 5 times 10 to the negative second divided by 2 times 10 to the 6th power. All right, so off to the side, I'm grouping my 5 divided by 2, and 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So my factor is 2.5. Then off to the other side, negative 2 minus 6. And that gives me a negative 8. We have to remember those integer rules. So this gives me a power of 10 to the negative 8. So I'm going to put my multiplication sign in there. And my final answer is 2.5 times 10 to the negative 8. Is this written in scientific notation? Well, is this number a factor that is greater than or equal to 1? And is it less than 10? Well, absolutely it is. Are we multiplying by a power of 10? Yes, we are. So we can say absolutely. This is written in scientific notation. All right, this is cool. So let's take a look at our next example. 3 times 10 squared divided by 5 times 10 to the negative second power. All right, so we are going to group our factor over here. So I'm going to come over here. 3 divided by 5 is 0.6. And then I'm going to take a look at my powers of 10. 10 to the second power minus a negative 2. So that gives me 10 to the fourth power. So written out, 0.6 times 10 to the fourth power. Well, let's take a look at that. I have a funny feeling that this is not written in scientific notation. So what I'd like for you to do is think about why it's not written in scientific notation. So I have 0.6 times 10 to the fourth power. So is our front factor here, is this a number that is greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10? No, it is not. And for that reason, it's not written in scientific notation. So let's remember our steps for rewriting. We move our decimal the number of spaces to make the first factor between 1 and less than 10. So I'm going to take this decimal point and I'm going to, we're going to move it this way so that I have 6.0. So I just moved my decimal point one place to the right. So we know that if we move the decimal to the right, so you might want to take out a highlighter or take out a pen and underline this, we subtract the number of moves. And if we move it to the left, we add the number of moves. So our exponent is 10 to the fourth. Since I moved to the right, I am going to subtract 1. So this gives me 10 to the third power. Remember, LA, like the city of LA, we add, left add. So now we rewrite in scientific notation. And our final answer is 6.0 times 10 to the third power. All right, awesome. So I want you to take a turn and I want you to try a few on your own. Remember, your answers must also be in scientific notation. So we're going to take a look at these 3 right here. And so I want you to pause the video for just a second and I want you to work it out, come back and check it out and check your answers, see if you got the right answers. And we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you pause the video. So let's take a look at the first one. 6 times 10 to the negative third divided by 2.5 times 10 to the negative second. All right, so grouping here. So grouping my 6. Six divided by 2.5 is 2.4. Now I'm taking a look, and I know the answer already popped up, but let's just check to see if our work matches. It's all good. So 10 to the negative third minus a negative 2. We've got that double sign right there, so I turn that to a plus. Negative 3 and a positive 2 is 10 to the negative 1. Yep, we have 2.4 times 10 to the negative 1 power. We are good to go. So let's take a look at the next one. 1.65 divided by 2. So off to the side, 1.65 divided by 2. That gives me 0.825. Now let's take a look at our powers of 10. 10 to the third minus 5. Well, a positive 3 and a negative 5 gives us a negative 2. So our answer is 0.825 times 10 to the negative 2. But wait a minute, is this in scientific notation? No, it's not, because we have a little issue here with our front factor. 0.825 is less than 1, and we need to make sure that it is greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. So I have to move this decimal point one place to the right. So that gives me 8.25. Now, since I moved one place to the right, negative 2 minus 1, I have to take and I have to subtract that 1. So that gives me 10 to the negative third. So let's check to see if that answers right. All right, that's what we got originally. And then with our rewrite, 8.25 times 10 to the negative third works beautifully. So now we're on to the word problem. So I like to read it through. A social media company processes about 990 billion likes per year if the company has approximately 8.8 times 10 to the 8 users of the social media. About how many likes is each user responsible for per year? So now the second time I read it through, I like to go through and underline or highlight some key information. So some key information here is 990 billion. 8.8 times 10 to the 8 users. And of course my question, how many likes is each user responsible for per year? So we can do this in a number of different ways, but I know some of us, we're going to want to take that 990 billion and write it out. And there's no harm in that. Go right ahead, write it all out, because that'll give you a better picture of how to write it in scientific notation. So in scientific notation, this is 9.9 times, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 10 to the 11th. Okay, so now we have this 8.8 times 8 users times 10 to the 8 users of social media. So let's think about it. Are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Well, we haven't talked about adding or subtracting yet, and we've talked about multiplying, but are we having a bigger total? Do we want our amount to be bigger? Or are we looking at per user? When we look at per user, that's an indicator that we're going to be dividing. So 8.8 times 10 to the 8th is going to go underneath. We divide 9.9 divided by 8.8. That gives us 1.125. Then off to the side, 11 minus 8. So this is 10 to the 11 minus 8 times 10 to the third power, because 11 minus 8 is 3. So remember, we're using those rules for exponents. When we have like bases, let's check it out. Yes, we have 1.125 times 10 to the 3 likes per user. That's awesome. And now let's take a look at our focus question. Our focus question for tonight is, what is one important fact you need to remember when you divide numbers written in scientific notation? So I want you to think about that and come back with some awesome answers so we can talk about it tomorrow in math class. So I want you all to have a great night and dream lots of math. We'll see you later. Bye.